Hi, how are you? Have you ever caught yourself rewriting the same email 10 times? Or postponing that important project because it's not good enough yet? Studies reveal that 95% of perfectionists suffer from chronic procrastination. Even more alarming, 67% of highly productive professionals report that perfectionism has sabotaged their careers at some point. But what few know is that there's a silent trap operating behind the scenes of your mind. An invisible prison built by yourself, brick by brick, in pursuit of something that never existed: perfection. In this video, I'll reveal how perfectionism is secretly fueling your procrastination, destroying your productivity, and most importantly, I'll show you exactly how to break this vicious cycle. Welcome to the dark side of productivity. Prepare yourself to discover uncomfortable truths about your own behavior and finally break free from the chains of perfection. If you're ready for this journey of self-discovery, hit that like button now and turn on notifications. Every second of this video has been meticulously designed to transform your relationship with productivity. Now let's break down each process so you can understand everything. Topic 1. The illusion of perfection. The vicious cycle destroying your productivity. Picture a painting that's never finished. An artist who keeps adding tiny details, endlessly, always believing that one more adjustment will make it perfect. This is the portrait of the perfectionist procrastinator. Perfectionism isn't, as many think, the pursuit of excellence. It's a paralyzing obsession that keeps us trapped in an endless cycle of self-criticism and postponement. Research shows that 80% of perfectionists report spending more time planning and reviewing than actually executing their tasks. This vicious cycle works like this. You start a task with impossibly high standards. As you work, anxiety grows. Every detail must be perfect. The pressure increases. The fear of failure intensifies. And then, to escape this crushing discomfort, you procrastinate. But here's the most disturbing truth. The more you procrastinate, the more pressure you put on yourself for the result to be perfect. After all, if it took so long, it needs to be exceptional. And so the cycle perpetuates itself, transforming into a downward spiral of productivity. A study conducted with creative professionals revealed that 73% of those who identify as perfectionists lose an average of 3 hours per day in unnecessary revisions and rework. That means over 700 hours per year wasted in the pursuit of unattainable perfection. Do you recognize this pattern in your life? How many opportunities have you let pass by waiting for the perfect moment? How many brilliant projects remain incomplete in your mind, prisoners of this vicious cycle? Topic 2. Inside the perfectionist brain. The neuroscience of self-sabotage. What happens inside your brain when perfectionism takes control? The answer is both fascinating and disturbing. Neuroscience research reveals that the perfectionist brain shows hyperactivity in the amygdala, our brain's fear center. This region, which evolved to protect us from predators, now triggers false alarms every time we face the possibility of imperfection. When you encounter an important task, your prefrontal cortex, responsible for planning and decision-making, is flooded with stress neurotransmitters. A groundbreaking Stanford University study showed that perfectionists experience cortisol levels 31% higher when starting new projects compared to non-perfectionists. This biochemical anxiety cocktail creates a mental state known as perfectionist paralysis. Your brain literally freezes. Neural activity in areas responsible for action decreases, while regions linked to self-criticism and rumination go into overdrive. Most ironic? This mechanism your brain developed to protect you from failure is actually programming you to fail. It's like a faulty security system that locks you out of your own house. Topic 3. The silent signs. How to identify when perfectionism is paralyzing you. Perfectionism is a master of disguise. It hides behind seemingly rational excuses and productive-sounding justifications. But there are telling signs you need to learn to identify. The first sign is what psychologists call infinite preparation. You spend hours researching, planning, organizing, but never actually start. Just one more tutorial. Just one more book. Just one more course. The truth? 85% of what you need to know to begin is already in your arsenal. Another sign is the almost ready syndrome. Your projects are always 90% complete but never cross the finish line. That final 10% transforms into an insurmountable mountain. Studies show that perfectionists leave 3 times more projects unfinished than the average person. Also observe your internal dialogue. This needs to be perfect. I can't make any mistakes. What if it's not good enough? These phrases are silent alarms indicating that perfectionism is in control. A particularly treacherous sign is selective procrastination. You're extremely productive in low-importance tasks, but completely freeze when facing significant projects. Why? Because the greater the significance, the higher the pressure for perfection. Compulsive revision is another classic indicator. You rewrite, rework, redo. Not because it's necessary, but because it never seems good enough. Research indicates that perfectionists spend on average 42% more time on revisions than their peers. You might also notice the all or nothing phenomenon. If you can't do something perfectly, you prefer not to do it at all. If you miss one goal, you abandon the entire plan. This extremist thinking is a trademark of paralyzing perfectionism. Topic 4. The price of perfection. Impacts on mental and physical health. Perfectionism doesn't just exact its toll in lost productivity. The cost to your mental and physical health runs much deeper and is more disturbing than you imagine. Recent studies reveal that perfectionists have a 70% higher risk of developing anxiety disorders. The constant state of alertness, the endless pressure for perfection, literally reprograms your nervous system to operate in survival mode. Your body is paying the price. Chronic insomnia, constant muscle tension, frequent headaches. It's no coincidence. Research shows that perfectionists have cortisol levels, the stress hormone, up to 40% higher than average, even during sleep. The impact on your immune system is equally alarming. The obsessive pursuit of perfection lowers your natural defenses. Perfectionists are 3 times more likely to develop stress-related illnesses and recover more slowly from diseases. But the most insidious damage is emotional. Perfectionism creates a toxic internal dialogue, a relentless critic that's never satisfied. 78% of perfectionists report experiencing intense feelings of shame and inadequacy daily, even when achieving significant goals. Your relationships suffer too. The constant fear of judgment, the need for control, the inability to delegate. All of this creates invisible barriers between you and those around you. Studies indicate that perfectionists have greater difficulty maintaining close and satisfying relationships. Topic 5. The perfect moment trap. Why we always wait for ideal conditions. I'll start on Monday. When I have more time. After I study more about it. You know these phrases well, don't you? They're the most dangerous lies we tell ourselves. The search for the perfect moment is one of perfectionism's most subtle and destructive manifestations. It's a form of procrastination disguised as prudence, an illusion that keeps us eternally waiting for ideal conditions that never arrive. Research shows that 65% of people postpone important projects waiting for the perfect timing. The scariest part? 83% of them admit that when they finally begin, they realize they could have started much earlier. This wait for the ideal moment has a name in psychology: perfect planning paralysis. It's when your brain creates an endless list of prerequisites, transforming the simple act of starting into an impossible mission. Have you ever stopped to calculate how much time you've lost waiting for the perfect moment? A revealing study showed that perfectionists waste on average 47% more time in planning than in execution. These are years of life spent waiting for a perfection that never comes. Topic 6. Analysis paralysis. When excessive planning becomes procrastination. There's a particularly treacherous form of procrastination that masquerades as productivity. Psychologists call it analysis paralysis, when you're stuck in an infinite loop of planning and research, never reaching actual action. You know the pattern. One more analysis spreadsheet, one more comparison chart, one more pros and cons list. Your brain convinces you that you're being meticulous and responsible when in reality, you're just feeding your fear of starting. Alarming data shows that 92% of perfectionists suffer from analysis paralysis in important projects. On average, they spend 3 times more time collecting information than they actually need to make an informed decision. The perfectionist transforms simple decisions into complex mathematical problems. A study revealed that people with perfectionist tendencies create, on average, 12 different spreadsheets before making a decision that others would resolve with a single pros and cons list. This behavior has a real cost. While you're stuck analyzing all possible variables, opportunities pass by, deadlines approach, and anxiety increases exponentially. It's like trying to calculate the perfect trajectory for a jump while the building is on fire. Most ironic? Research shows that decisions made after excessive analysis aren't significantly better than those made with moderate planning. In fact, 67% of perfectionists admit that their best decisions were made when they were forced to act with less time for analysis. Analysis paralysis is like using a microscope to find your way through a forest. You can see each detail with impressive precision, but completely lose sight of the bigger picture. Topic 7. The hidden fear. The relationship between perfectionism and imposter syndrome. Behind every perfectionist, there's a deep and rarely confessed fear. The fear of being exposed as a fraud. This is the dangerous intersection where perfectionism and imposter syndrome meet and strengthen each other. Studies reveal that 84% of perfectionists experience severe symptoms of imposter syndrome. It's a macabre dance. The more you achieve, the more intense becomes the fear of being unmasked. Each accomplishment, instead of building confidence, only increases the pressure. Perfectionism becomes your armor against this fear. If every detail is impeccable, if every project is absolutely perfect, maybe, just maybe, no one will notice that you feel like an imposter. It's a survival strategy that's slowly destroying you. The cost of this internal battle is devastating. Research indicates that professionals who struggle with this combination of perfectionism and imposter syndrome are 73% more likely to experience severe burnout. They work more, sleep less, and still never feel enough. The paradox is cruel. The more you try to prove your worth through perfection, the more you feed the belief that you're not naturally capable. It's like trying to fill a leaking bucket. No matter how much effort you put in, it never seems enough. Topic 8. Breaking the chains. Practical strategies to overcome paralyzing perfectionism. The time has come to transform knowledge into action. I'll share scientifically proven strategies to break the chains of paralyzing perfectionism. These aren't just theories. They're practical tools that have already helped thousands of people reclaim their productivity. The first strategy is what psychologists call MVP, minimum viable perfect. Instead of pursuing absolute perfection, clearly define what's the acceptable minimum for each task. Studies show that people who adopt this approach complete 60% more projects than traditional perfectionists. The second technique is the imperfection timer. Set a non-negotiable time limit for each task. When the alarm rings, you must stop, regardless of how perfect you think it is. This technique reduces execution time by 45% without significant impact on final quality. Implement the 80% rule. If your work is 80% ready and meets basic requirements, it's time to deliver. The other 20% usually consumes 80% of your time and energy, creating an unbalanced equation of return on investment. A powerful strategy is the imperfect successes journal. Record situations where something worked out even though it wasn't perfect. Research indicates this practice reduces perfectionist anxiety by 40% in just 3 weeks. Adopt the gradual exposure method. Start deliberately making small mistakes in low-risk situations. Send emails with small typos. Give presentations without exhaustive rehearsal. The goal is to desensitize your fear of imperfection. Finally, implement the observer technique. When caught in a perfectionist loop, ask yourself, would I require this level of perfection from someone else? In 92% of cases, the answer is no. This contrast helps identify unrealistic patterns. Remember, the goal isn't to abandon excellence, but to find a sustainable balance between quality and action. Topic 9. The difference between excellence and perfection. Finding balance. There's a fine line between pursuing excellence and falling into the perfection trap. A crucial difference that can determine whether you'll be an extraordinary achiever or remain eternally stuck in the limbo of procrastination. Excellence is a journey of constant growth. Perfection is a prison of impossible standards. Studies show that professionals focused on excellence are 47% more productive than those obsessed with perfection. Consider this. Excellent people make mistakes and learn from them. Perfectionists fear mistakes and freeze before them. A revealing study showed that successful entrepreneurs fail on average 3.8 times before achieving significant success. They didn't wait for perfection. They acted, learned, and adapted. Excellence celebrates progress, while perfection dismisses any result below ideal. It's like comparing a growing garden to a painting that's never finished. The garden might have some yellowing leaves, but it's alive and flourishing. The painting remains eternally incomplete. You've made it this far. You've learned how perfectionism disguises itself as virtue while secretly sabotaging your productivity. You've discovered the neurological mechanisms behind this pattern, and most importantly, received practical tools to break this cycle. Remember, the opposite of perfectionism isn't carelessness. It's freedom. Freedom to create, to try, to fail, and most importantly, to grow. The question now is, what will you do with this knowledge? Will you remain trapped in the chains of perfection? Or will you take the first step, even if imperfect, toward your true productivity? The choice, as always, is yours. But remember, a year from now, you'll wish you had started today. If this video helped you better understand your perfectionist patterns, hit that like button and share it with someone who needs to hear this message. Turn on notifications to not miss our upcoming videos about psychology and productivity. Until next time, and remember, progress over perfection.